Today we have a recap of what's about to come out in 10.1.5 of the things you might not be aware about. Because, it feels superfluous to tell you that in 10.1.5 the Mega Dungeon is coming out, or the Time Rifts are coming out, or maybe do you guys know that the Augmentation Evoker, a brand new spec, is coming out in 10.1.5? No, these type of things are more known, just like it's also known things like the balance tuning that will come in 10.1.5. We have had videos as well about all of these things, so those are not necessary to point out. However, there are also quite a few other features coming live in just a few days that you might not have heard about, because they are just, a tiny little note, a small little sentence, which might interest many of you, might actually be quite good as a quality of life addition and a good change overall. So let's go over the major minor changes happening in 10.1.5, starting of course with the gear, because that's, as usual, the most important part of anyone's character. So the main change when it comes to gear is the newly added myth track in 10.1.5. For everyone who is not aware, any piece of gear you have currently looted at 441 or 444 item level will be upgradable all the way up to 447. So myth 1 out of 3 is 441 item level, myth 2 out of 3 is 444, and myth 3 out of 3 is 447. This means that now if you have a 441 hero 5 out of 5 item, that's not gonna be upgradable. Basically only if you have looted items from the vault or from the raid at 441 or 44 item level, those can be upgraded up to 447. Doesn't count crafted gear, doesn't count mythic plus gear. This is obviously retroactive, which means that you can upgrade the gear you currently have at 441, at 444, up to 447, which is also why some guilds, some players have paid extra attention to the currently terrible rewards from the first bosses in the raid that drop 441 item level, knowing that in a few weeks, in 1 or 2 weeks, we would have hit 10.1.5 and those low item level mythic raid items could have been upgraded up to 447 as soon as 10.1.5 launches. That is the main change when it comes to gear in 10.1.5. The cost is going to be 1 aspect crest, so at least now you have more ways to dump your aspect crests that you earn, besides having to use 4 of them for your crafted item, so at least you have something to use them for. This is definitely the more impactful change when it comes to gear, allowing you to go even further, deeper down your item level on your characters. The other couple of changes to the gear, we have mentioned them before. One is the nerf to the Seal of the Earnest Chosen, all the way back from Vault of the Incarnates, by 25%, and the other one, the bigger one, is the 40% damage nerf to the Onyx Amulet. This means, as a TLDR, that no specs now are going to be running the Onyx Amulet in terms of damage. Maybe just some healers might still want to use the Amulet. Besides that, the only other ways for using the Amulet at this moment is just for the healing. The healing options of the Amulet now are gonna still be somewhat worth over your current gear. The other part, which is still a change about gear but not effectively changing your item level or anything, is the fact that Blizzard, this is something that was announced before we even got to the release of this season, the amount of tier pieces that drop from Aberrus is going to be reduced in 10.1.5. This was because of the catalyst. Blizzard was basically saying, okay, now everyone has the catalyst, so everyone once a week can turn a normal piece of gear into a tier piece, so there is less of a reason to keep giving you tier tokens from the raid. So instead, we're going to make way, we're going to reduce the amount of tier tokens for some other more desirable items like trinkets and weapons and rings that are dropping in fewer amounts because more loot slots are taken by the tier tokens right now. That's the other change coming in 10.1.5 to the gear. Now, with the gear being done with, there is also one small change I just want to point out, just in case you get spooked by this. Your Garrison and your Dalaran Hearthstone are going to be turned into toys. in 10.1.5. No, don't worry, they are not being converted into all the other kinds of Hearthstone toys you can currently own. Those Hearthstone toys are just cosmetic. They just change the look, the appearance of your Hearthstone animation into a different one, but they are still effectively your basic Hearthstone. These two Hearthstone turning into toys are still going to have their own independent cooldown, okay? They will still work like they did previously, just the same, except now they take 2 fewer spots in your bags. That's the only change happening to these Hearthstones, okay? So don't get spooked when you see them disappearing from your bags and thinking they are now sharing the cooldown with your normal Hearthstone. There is also another small change. This one is mostly for profession enthusiasts, especially, or rather just, for the ones who have already completed all of the possible skill points in a particular profession and you have no more knowledge points to spend in any of your profession skill points. This is a vendor, which is right here, right next to the crafting order NPCs in Valdrakken, which will offer to exchange knowledge points you currently have unspent for artisan metal. That's the other quality of life, I guess, for profession, for crafters in 10.1.5, giving a reason to be able to continue to grab these knowledge points when you don't need them anymore. At least now you can exchange them for something more useful. Then we have a massive extra gameplay feature coming, which is the whelp daycare. The dragons apparently went from being very scarce and few in the amount of eggs they have available to having way more eggs that they can handle. So now apparently they have called you in to help with dealing with little whelplings. It's a pretty cute minigame, I guess, and will give you something to do in the open world if you care about collecting new pets and getting more achievements related to the dragons in Dragonflight. The other one that is still not in the game though, so I'm still announcing it just because, but it will come up in basically a month, is the Kalimdor Cup. The TLDR is dragon riding in the old continents, in this case starting in Kalimdor. That is gonna start on August the 15th. So basically almost a month after the release of patch 10.1.5 is when dragon riding will join the old world for this new race event in Kalimdor. The other and last point, this one is an Evoker special, because this bit is part of the answers given by Ion Azikostas, our lead game designer of Dragonflight, for the release of 10.1.5, where he was asked about the Evoker Legendary. Because, you know, initially the Evoker Legendary was supposed to be a 100% guaranteed drop from Mythic. So, you know, eventually the majority of the better guilds were going to get it, and then Heroic was going to have a decent chance, so even the non-Mythic raiding ones and the non-raiders whatsoever were going to get it. However, it turned out to be not like that. It turned out to have a much lower chance than expected. Not just that, but it also turned out to not even have a guaranteed chance in Mythic to actually drop. So the question is, okay, fine, you had your fun not giving it as a guaranteed thing until 10.1.5 when augmentation comes out, but surely now that augmentation goes live, we have the complete Evoker package now, we're gonna get the Evoker Legendary out much more commonly. Well, the answer is no. The answer, according to Ion, very simply, is that they have nothing planned for 10.1.5 as far as increasing the chances of dropping the Evoker Legendary, or the start of the Evoker Legendary questline. It is of course a pretty scary prospect, you being an Evoker wanting to, for example, join a guild or compete in Mythic Plus next season. For that to happen, you must have this Legendary. In case you're not aware, in case you don't even play Evoker, this Legendary at the moment is better than the supposed item level we will get in Season 3. Which is 480 item level. This 457 legendary is going to beat a 480 default epic from Season 3, which means that you need to get this. You need to get this to be your best in slot for next season, yet the drop chance is very low, and for now Blizzard is not planning anything to increase the drop rate. So that's gonna be quite the contentious point before we get to Season 3. I hope that with enough pressure before the season actually comes in a few months, Blizzard will give in and start giving out more chances for acquiring this Legendary for the majority of the player base. For now, I am not too preoccupied and not too stressed about this, but I hope that in the near future we will make changes to make this legendary more available for all of the evokers. So with this one we have the last bit of the less known but still quite important changes coming in 10.1.5. Most of these were centered around gear, whether it was the mythic track increasing your item level or the fewer amount of tier pieces dropping from the raid in exchange for more diverse items from the loot table of the bosses, as well as a few other minor things coming. So besides the big things we all know about already, like the new activities or the augmentation evoker coming out or the whole bunch of balance tuning coming out, these were the other more important bits of changes coming live in, at this point, 3 days, 4 days for patch 10.1.5. So for today, on this weekend, we are having a break. We are starting as usual our goodbyes by thanking all of the Patreon supporters for the contribution and the help, which you can still give out for free. You can like and comment down below, as it is necessary to cheat the YouTube algorithm. You can also subscribe to the channel itself as well. Now, with these helpful tips out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, weird. This time they say it's hot, they say it's quite warm today, but I don't feel nearly as sweaty and sticky today. Weird.